I've been selling my soul, working all day.
The definition of con as a verb is to persuade someone to do or believe something, typically by use of a deception. As a noun, it is an instance of deceiving or tricking someone. A con man or a confidence man is someone who cheats or tricks someone by gaining their trust and persuading them to believe something that is not true.
Living in the new world with an whole soul.
Well, this is something a little different that I've been hoping to get into, a song review. And for my first segment doing song reviews, I wanted to cover this American political song called Men North of Richmond by one Oliver Anthony. This kind of became a big deal in the American political dialogue over the summer. This guy was not a famous singer-songwriter. He'd only been, I think, professionally producing for a couple years, putting some songs that he wrote and performed up on this YouTube channel where different folk and country singers upload their work. And this song that he put out just really took off, kind of struck a chord, got a lot of attention. All kinds of commentators and celebrities jumped in with their opinions on it, and it's gotten up, I think, around 100 million views now, the original song, and one or two official covers, and it's been a huge hit on streaming and music download sites. It, got popular. Now, this is a very old style of song. This song of the working man singing about his problems and singing about the people who are putting him down. And now, this goes way back into ancient history. Probably some of the very first artists, whether you're in ancient China or Mesopotamia or Greece, on some old-fashioned stringed instruments or banging on a tortoise shell with drumsticks, we're probably singing about something along these lines. The big people keeping the little person down, not giving him what is due, and the trials of the laboring man. I'm working too hard, I'm not getting paid well enough. That's just as old as civilization itself. Now, where things have changed in recent times, and this is what I'm talking about in the intro to this video, talking about a con, is that people are raised now with very different expectations. We are no longer raised with the idea that we owe service to our betters. We are taught that we are free individuals in a more or less equal society where we have opportunity and we can all work to better ourselves and get ahead and enjoy a higher standard of living if we work hard enough and do all the right things. So people go into life with those expectations, being taught by their school systems, by their media, by movies, novels, etc., promoting those ideas, and then they find out that things aren't really that way, and they are kind of stuck in this civilizational loop, this civilizational hierarchy that has been set since time immemorial, where big people lord over little people, and little people who work very hard don't get ahead and feel that they've been had. And when people come to that realization, they feel conned. They feel like they've been taken, that they worked very hard for an idea, and that idea was not true. So this is an old kind of song, an old style of art, a style of verse, with a little bit of a modern twist to it, appealing to people with the modern American sensibilities. I'm going to read through the lyrics here and comment. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. He starts off kind of dark, he's not flattering himself at all. The artist here is very much kind of bearing his soul to the listener, and I think that's part of the appeal of this song. People hear Mr. Anthony singing this and they think, wow, here's this guy, he's singing the way I feel. Now, of course, complaining about wages, overtime hours for bullshit pay, that's subjective, really. Some people are happy with what they get paid. Some people aren't. People outside the U.S. may look at the United States and think, wow, they've got very high wages there, and a lot of people come to the United States and are happy to work for those wages, and they do well, and they get ahead, and they live the so-called American dream. Yet for other people, they feel like they're trapped, like they're selling their soul. Wow, that's kind of a harsh terminology there, but that is what you do. Essentially, whether you like your work or not, whether you're happy with what you do or not, you are, in a sense, selling yourself, your body, your time, your soul, for whatever it is that you're getting paid. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to. For people like me and people like you, wish I could just wake up and it not be true. But it is. Oh, it is. Of course, the world didn't get to this point. The world's been at this point for a very long time, but I think this is what comes to people's minds when they come to that realization. There's a lot of shock and thinking that, wow, things have really changed. Maybe things were going well before, and then suddenly things aren't going well, and they think, wow, the world's changing on me. Things are different. Things aren't fair anymore. Whereas, back when things were good for one person, things might have been pretty tough for another person. In fact, the whole dynamic of little people working for big people, again, this goes back thousands of years when people first figured out, hey, let's have a system where we get poor people to build mounds and dig ditches and till fields, and the rich people will provide religion and security and accounting services in exchange. And we'll have this nice little hierarchy where the big people do smart work and the little people do the hard work, and we'll all get along great. This goes back to Bible times. This is actually the theme of a number of stories in the Old Testament where people are unhappy with their hard labor and unhappy at the way that their betters are treating them. That was the backstory of the Exodus. That was the backstory of the breakup of the kingdom of Israel, where Solomon and his son imposed very hard labor on their people, and the people wouldn't take it anymore. He says, for people like me and people like you. That's just such a great tool in songwriting or in any kind of delivery of a message, and it works so well. It's like magic. You have someone out there singing well, presenting himself well, and then associating the listeners to himself, and it draws people in, and it works. It's just basic psychology. Again, just a very old, proven style of getting a message across. Now, wherever you have people saying, yeah, people like me, people like you, yeah, we're all in it together, sometimes they aren't really quite as inclusive as it might sound. It's easy for people to think, yeah, we're all the real Americans and everything makes perfect sense to us, but there could always be some other group that just sees things differently and I guess wouldn't be in the people like me, people like you, even though they may be also working class people who are having a tough time struggling with their lives. Living in the new world with an old soul, these rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control. So there's those famous words that the song is named after. Now this goes back, of course, to Confederate times in the United States, where you had the Confederacy with their capital at Richmond, and so there was this resentment for the rich men north of Richmond, who did what? Well, they came and they freed the slaves that the Southerners were holding. So much of American culture, song, the origins of these kind of working class laments, that comes from the slaves, the African American slave labor of the South, of the people in Richmond and south of Richmond who were oppressing and enslaving this whole class of people, and the rich men north of Richmond were the ones who came and freed them and liberated the oppressed working men. So it's funny how history works and how that resentment of the Southerners to having their way of life and their state rights to own slaves, having that overturned, led to a resentment that has continued on to this day, being manifest in different ways. Of course, I'm not saying that Anthony is in any way singing about the Confederacy or slavery, but it's kind of it is a nod to that past and those old hard feelings toward the North, who ironically actually came and liberated the oppressed working men. Want to know what you think, want to know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit and it's taxed to no end, 'cause of rich men north of Richmond. That's another very old theme in history, being upset about taxes and the devaluation of your money, and these are things that are felt very much by the poor, who don't earn a lot to begin with, and when they see their money being devalued and taxed, these things that are out of their control, that the rich and powerful impose on them through different monetary policies, it makes things tough, and it certainly adds to a lot of the resentment that the working class feels towards their betters, towards the nobility, the government, the king, what have you. Because time and time again, all through history, in every manifestation of civilization, when the rich and powerful come up against the boundaries of their ambitions, they try to push through those boundaries, partly by raising taxes and devaluing the currencies, to give themselves a bit more money through both of those mechanisms to try to push things a little further in whatever it is that they're trying to do. And it's the laboring man who feels it the most. Now, in the United States, there are fairly high taxes. That's no exaggeration there. Now, it could be argued, and I kind of agree with this, that what needs to happen in the United States, we don't need to lower taxes, but we need to have adequate taxes on those who can pay them to provide more services to people, so that, you know, the poor working class people who feel like they never get enough, like, well, maybe we could help out with that. You know, if charity's not covering it, you know, these multi-billionaires aren't, out of the goodness of their hearts, creating a system that is bringing up everyone. No, they're hoarding that money and using it for their own pet projects. So that's where taxes could actually be a great benefit to the poor laboring man. Tax the money that's available and use it to provide services. And it says that they want to know what you think, want to know what you do. That's, of course, a very prevalent conspiracy theory with a lot of backing. You know, it seems quite evident, quite true that, yes, the rich and powerful have a great desire in knowing what the lower classes think and do, because that gives them more control. They can advertise, they can influence, they can, in the case of government and the justice system, they can keep track on people they may suspect of wrongdoing. It allows them to know where the illegal immigrants are, so they can round them up and deport them. You know, a lot of people on the lower end of society are the subject of some pretty pervasive control measures by the big folks, by the rich men north of Richmond, by the government, by big corporations trying to manipulate the population to their own ends. I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. Ooh, little play on words there, of course referring to the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, where it came out that it was like a who's who in the world of politics and business were hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein and visiting his island retreat, and it was some pretty awful stuff that was revealed about what was going on. And then there's so much that is unknown that just kind of lets the imagination run wild. And what on earth are these upper class powerful people doing? And from what little we know, they're into a lot of weird and dangerous and harmful stuff. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. This is a line that kind of got a lot of people's attention, saying, what was he talking about there? You know, this kind of a funny idea, like, I guess on the one hand saying we need more welfare because there's people who don't have enough to eat, and it's because these fat people are eating it all up with welfare. I don't know how true any of that could be. This sounds like some pretty just old school conservative talking points. This is like back to Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan, you know, like we gotta cut benefits because there's fat people who are eating too much. They're taking all the food stamps and hoarding it all, and that's why the country has problems, because of these poor, fat, lazy people who are just eating up all the welfare. I guess it's an old talking point that is prevalent in the popular imagination, so it makes its way into a song like this. It says, well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Again, as if any part of the United States problems can be linked to fat people getting food stamps or poor people getting food stamps. This kind of brings into question, the populist nature of this song. I'm sure he means well, but then in this song, he's like lashing out at other down and out people at the same time. So it's kind of a funny little dynamic here. And I guess this is part of politics and part of popular culture, that you have to have an us, there has to be a them. And in this case, the them isn't just the rich and powerful. The them is also the unworthy lower working class people who are, I guess, not worthy of being included with Oliver Anthony and all his fine, hard-working peers. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, because all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. I know it can feel that way, when you're a young man and you work hard and you're trying to do the right thing, and you are trying to support a family, trying to live your dreams, trying to do the things that you want to do the things that are right, and then in spite of all your efforts, you get kicked and you're not allowed to get ahead, not allowed to move forward, not allowed to move yourself and your family and your children forward, because someone who has more power than you decided to kick you down. And it certainly can lead to some hard feelings. And we've all had our little experiences with good bosses and bad bosses, and this happens in the Christian world too, in churches and ministries. But it's a larger societal problem. It's been going on for a very long time, and now coming into this modern age, again, the idea of the con that I brought out, like where people are told you can, be all you can be, and there's all this hope for the next generation. Oh, you young people, hey, there's all this hope for you, and you work hard and do the right thing, and you're gonna be able to get ahead and make the world a better place, and et cetera, et cetera. But then at some point in life, people find out that a lot of what they were taught just isn't real, and that they're really kind of living in a hierarchical structure that is rigged against them, and they feel pretty bad about it, and it comes out in music in this case. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me and people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is. Wow, that's pretty heavy. That's pretty good art there. I wish I could wake up and it not be true, but it is. That's very sad. You got to think about all the people who live like this. Maybe you feel this way. I don't feel that way myself. I've been through some ups and downs, but I feel a bit more positive about life than what Anthony Oliver is expressing in these lyrics. But I know this is a prevalent feeling. Just a lot of people feel like they're tired. They're giving it their all. They're not happy. They're not getting out of life what they were told they would get out of life if they played by the rules and did all the right things. It's a tough thing. Now, as a Christian, as someone who believes in the words of Jesus and the Bible, that should, of course, give hope and give some relief. But there's a lot of the same kind of things going on in the Christian world, and the people who might hold up the Christian values and the Christian world and the church and whatnot as a solution to these problems. A lot of times they're just kind of running their own scams, and they have a religious twist on it. Again, trying to manipulate people for their labor and their money, while taking the benefit and not giving to their fellow Christians what they had promised. These elements are prevalent all throughout society, and the church is by no means free of it. The way that Jesus offers a solution is by telling us to just kind of let it all go, be like grass, be like the birds, hug a tree, love your neighbor, love your family, love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Don't pass that person on the road who may need help. That's the solution. There's no solution where, hey, you just enter into this other kind of system with some religious aspects to it, and it's going to be fair over there. No, the religious system is also unfair, and there's plenty of people in religious systems who are also just trying to take advantage of people who they consider to be beneath them. But the real answer kind of comes with just letting it all go, which may not really be much of an answer to somebody who is feeling the things that Anthony Oliver is feeling. That's why, as Jesus said, unless you be converted and become as little children, you cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven. Accepting the kingdom of heaven requires letting even the basic things of life go in some cases, and it's not always easy. Living in the new world with an old soul. I like those lines there. Living in a new world with an old soul. The idea that, we're in this supposedly new great era and land of opportunity, but the soul is old. We keep on slipping into the same things. We slip into the same structures. We do things the same way, and we fall for the same things and get hurt in the same way. Again, that old soul. People keep on hurting people in the same way. In spite of all our enlightenment and our knowledge of Christianity and the Gospels, we just keep on kind of repeating these same old mistakes, living in a new world with an old soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control, want to know what you think, want to know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. There's a, hey, you and me, we know what's really going on. Very powerful way of communication there. Because your dollar ain't shit and it taxed to no end. Because of rich men north of Richmond. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay. That's quite a song, it's not a perfect song, not a perfect message. It does feel like it's coming from his heart, though. That's, a man's heart cry, a man's message to the world. Now, sometimes a heart cry, one person's heart cry might seem a little silly or irrelevant to another person, but I think this one grabbed a lot of people's attention. A lot of people thought, yeah, I can relate to that. I can relate to that dissatisfaction with life, being upset at the higher-ups, the people who make life tough on me, these rich men north of Richmond. Again, there's quite a bit of irony in that phase there, some historical irony there. And I kind of like how he's not trying to peddle a solution here. Not every... some of the best songs and movies and stories don't give you a solution. They're explaining the problem that people live through, and that's good enough. And even in his interviews and whatnot, he's not some political activist or anything. He's just a guy who's had some experiences and knows how to sing, has a great voice, has some musical skill, and he's putting his feelings and his experience into song. One more thing I want to say before closing this is that don't be upset at the rich men north of Richmond, because they're people too. The big shots, the people who kick little people, a lot of times they're sad, lonely people themselves. They need Jesus. They need the kingdom of heaven. They need to have their eyes open to the benefits of love, the benefits of doing for others as you would have them do unto you. We're all people. We're all human. We're all lost when we don't have a moral foundation, when we don't have a savior. So take this song for what it's worth, and let's just keep on trying to be the right kind of person. It's good to know what's wrong, that hopefully we can do right, especially when we have the choice, when we have someone who may be looking up to us, may be needing our help, and we can do what's right for them. Well, thanks for watching. Please leave some comments below. Tell me if you like this kind of commentary, and what song should I cover next. Bye for now. I wrote the music I wrote because I was suffering with mental health and depression. These songs have connected with millions of people on such a deep level because they're being sung by someone feeling the words in the very moment they were being sung. No editing, no agent, no bullshit. Just some idiot and his guitar.